Back with the sickle, and now I'm going to show you our sequence on the typodont so that you can spend some time doing this at home and get a little bit of better handle on it. So some of you have your typodont mounted on the typodont mounter thing that you may have gotten from one of the other cohorts or from your big, and that's nice. If you have that, I'm going to show you how to work on that in a minute. If not, let me just show you on the typodont here, because you may want to just start with your typodont being on your table. And so you just want it to be like this. I don't want to throw too much at you at one time. I want you to kind of add one thing and add something else and add something else as we go with it so that you'll, get better acclimated to it. So we're going to start here on tooth number 6, okay? So we're going to pick up your sickle, and, there's really no rhyme or reason as to which end you're going to pick up. They're both mirror images of each other. The one that I have is not a mirror image. This happens to be an H567, like you have in your kit on this end, and then this end happens to be a jacket, which we don't have in your kit, but all I need to show you for showing you what we're doing with the sickle is the H567 that you have in your kit. So I'm going to pick up the H567, and we're always going to start at the midline on number 6 if we're going to go away, all right? So even if you were working on a patient in clinic and we said to you as your CI, you're going to start on the upper right quadrant, okay? So you would work on the molars or whatever, but when it came time for you to start with the anteriors, then your whole sequence is going to change because it's just different on anterior sextants, okay? So we're going to start the midline of number 6. Our imaginary line is right here in the middle, okay? And my fulcrum is going to be something about like this. My fulcrum is going to be on the occlusal of my premolars, because I don't want to be right on top of the tooth that I'm working on. You don't ever want to fulcrum, it's best to avoid fulcruming on the same tooth you're working on, because that puts you in the line of fire. And according to the textbook, according to Jill Neal, if you were to be scaling on a tooth that you're, and fulcruming on a tooth that you're actually scaling on, there's a risk that you take when you work, and you could actually, puncture yourself and cause trauma to yourself, which could be, something not good to happen. So you don't ever want to do that. So we always try to take precautions when we fulcrum and make sure that we kind of stay at least 1 to 4 teeth. Sometimes if you're way back on different parts of the mouth, sometimes you have to be far away from the tooth because your hand can't get there otherwise. All right, so we're going to be at number 6. I'm going to fulcrum on around 4 or 5 on the occlusal. My grasp is where it needs to be. My middle finger side of the middle finger is on the functional shank. My 4th finger standing up. My index and thumb are not touching. And I'm right here between the 3rd, 1, 2, 3rd, and 4th, 1, 2nd, and 3rd, knuckle. All right, so here we go. We're going to start right here, and we're going to make sure that we are using only the lower 1/3 tip, and that's why I've colored it so you can see it a little better, okay? You don't want to start with the middle of the blade, okay? You don't want to start with the heel of the blade because you're going this direction, and there's just no way that you can safely get that working in to do what it needs to do if you're starting your activation strokes down here on the middle part of the blade. So we always work on the lower 1/3 tip. That's about 2 millimeters, 1 to 3 millimeters, no more than that. Okay, and here's where I'm starting. And my strokes, my handle is parallel, and my strokes are going down. I'm pushing off with my fulcrum, off with my fulcrum, off with my fulcrum, okay? And my strokes are tight, and they're short, and they're overlapping, and I'm rolling, and I'm rolling, and I'm also doing what we called, this is kind of coming out a little bit, sorry. I'm doing a pivot. So I've got to get myself from here to here. So I started off like this, very parallel, everybody straight and standing up. And I've got to get this actively around here. So it's like the basketball player that's standing in place, but yet he's moving. So you can see how my wrist and my fourth finger is tilting so that I can keep this lower 1/3 tip activated on that tooth. Okay, let's see that again on number 7. All right, start at the midline, straight, this way, this way, this way. Now watch what my fourth finger does. Besides rolling the tooth and overlapping my strokes, I'm rolling it, and that fourth finger is staying in place, but yet it's pivoting. Okay? My fingers never move. My fingers never separate. Okay, by now I'm having the patient turn a little bit towards me. I'm going right here on number 8, midline. Okay, here we go. Everybody's in place. Okay, I'm going to move, move. So my strokes are overlapping, overlapping, overlapping. Okay, now look what that fourth finger does. It's going to stay in place, but it's allowing me as I roll to get that blade so that this blade stays parallel. See, if you don't pivot, what happens is if you roll and then you end up with your working end that's not parallel. And so you could go onto the other tooth, or you could just become not having the angulation that you need. And you need about 70 to 80 degrees angulation between the surface of the tooth and the surface of the blade to make that work, okay? And we'll be talking about angulation a little bit more, okay?